Hey, what's up guys? This is my guide to Qliphorts, which is a new deck that just came out of the new Challengers booster set. Pretty much this deck is legal for YSS Anaheim, so if you are planning to attend that event, it's beneficial for you to test this deck out, learn how it works, what it can do, and how it can be countered. Whether you play this deck or not, it's definitely good to have this knowledge because you will be seeing a lot of this at future events. This deck pretty much abuses a new pendulum summoning mechanic, which Konami introduced fairly recently. The basic gist of pendulum summoning, for those who don't know, is that if you have these monsters, they're called pendulum monsters, on your left and right side of your field, which I guess the new zone's called pendulum zones. You place one on each side, and you see these numbers that have these scale numbers 9 here, and for example 1 here. When you have a pendulum monster in each zone, then once per turn you can special summon as many monsters from your hand or extra deck if they are face-up monsters in extra deck, which I'll explain later. You can special summon as much as you can fill up your monster zone, pretty much, as long as those monsters are able to be special summoned. So cards like Majesty's Fiend, which has the clause that cannot be special summoned, obviously won't work with pendulum summoning. However, all these monsters here can. These are called Qliphorts, which is a new, really strong archetype, like I said, with the exception of Tool, or no, actually Tool as well is called an OCG, Qliphort Scout. With the exception of Scout, the other 4 Qliphorts in your deck, which is Shell, Disc, Helix, and Carrier, all have part of their effects similar, and then in addition to that, a unique effect as well. We'll just kind of go through the deck. Qliphort Scout, this guy is your searcher. You read here, it says here, you cannot special summon monsters except clean monsters. This effect cannot be negated. Once per turn, pay 800. Add 1 clean card from your deck to your hand. This is pretty much the searcher for your deck. You're able to search this card out with Summoner's Art, Sacrifice, a few other ways. But anyways, Qliphort, main guy you want, he's a scale 9, he goes in on one of your pendulum zones, and then you have 2 Qliphort monsters that get effects when they are tributed, 2 Qliphort monsters, Shell and Disc, which get effects when they are tribute summoned. So it's important to realize that these 2, which kind of look alike, they're the ones that need to be tributed. These 2 with a level 8 and a level 7, they need to be tribute summoned to gain effects. What I mentioned before though is that these guys all share certain effects. You can see right here this first part where it says you can normal summon this card without tributing. It becomes level 4 and its original attack becomes 1800. They all share that. They also share this part as well where it says if this card is normal summoned or set, it is unaffected by activated effects from monsters whose original level or rank is lower than this card's current level. And then its own effect, Carrier's effect, he can actually return a monster from the field back to the hand. So this Carrier is an important part of the deck. You play 3 of them because you can return monsters such as Shadal, Construct, Winda, etc. A lot of monsters back to the extra deck, as well as clear boards for an OTK. The other monster that gains an effect when it's tributed is Helix. This card is really good because it pops back rows. The tribute summon monsters, we play 2 discs normally in these kind of builds because This is actually better, I think, than Shell. Sometimes I don't even like drawing into shell, but he has an effect which I'll go through in a bit. But Disc, when he is normal summoned, he's able to special summon 2 monsters, clean monsters from your extra deck. This is what you use to push for your game. You can get 2 more of these guys, and even though you get an extra 3600 attack. Shell, on the other hand, when he is summoned, he can attack twice, and he also does piercing damage. So essentially, you can put 5600 damage by himself on the board. Let's see. Besides these monsters, Trample Lynx and Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon are also monsters that fill certain roles in this deck. Trample Lynx is really good when you draw into this card. You place him on, say, the right side pendulum zone with a 4, and if you have Scout on the left side with a 9, you can summon any single one of these guys through pendulum summoning. And then his effect here is that when you do a pendulum summon, you can return 1 pendulum monster that's on the pendulum zone back to hand. You usually return your own Scout back to your hand and then play it again, and you can then pay 800 and search for another card. The last monster in this deck is Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. He is essentially just another way to search for either Qliphorts Scout or Trample Lynx. As far as spells go, my current build is playing 17 spells. 3 sacrifice. This actually is what I think makes the deck. It is a equip card. It gives your monster 300 attack, and it also allows it to not be destroyed by battle. This is the big part. Usually you want to summon a carrier and play sacrifice on it. That way they cannot kill this card by attack, and next turn you tribute summon the carrier and spin back their monster. You can also do that with a Helix and pop their back rows, depending on what you need. Other part of this effect of this card is what makes this even more broken though, and that is the monster can be treated as 2 tributes per tribute summon. That makes your tribute summon of Shell and Disc and even Killer, which is now named Towers, in the side deck even easier. And then when this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to search a clean monster from your deck to your hand. That's big because you can add another tool, carrier, whatever you need. It also plays 3 Summoner's Art. This is to search for your Scout. Pot of Duality for consistency. Monarch Stormforth. This card used to be 3 Upstart Goblins, but this card right now is just really good. It's good in the mirror match because if you play this on your opponent's, say, carrier that's equipped with a sacrifice, you can actually use it. This monster is 2 tributes for your Disc. So you're gonna sack this carrier, let's say your opponent's carrier with a sacrifice, and summon Disc. Carrier is only level 6, this is level 7, so it's actually unaffected, so carrier can't even spin Disc back to the hand or deck or whatever hand. So it's a really good play. Then you pretty much tributed their monster, open up for a lot of damage. It's also good against Shaddolls right now when they have their set Falcos or set Beasts. You tribute them and you just plus up that. I'm playing 2 Night Beams. This is a great card. Better than MST, I think, right now, because MST, obviously, you use MST, they just chain whatever they're going to do, and next thing you know it, your guys are getting spun, whatnot. This allows them to not be able to react. You play this card, and then you go off. That's how you win the game. Chalice. A very good card in this deck. What it does is acts like a skill drain pretty much with a boost of attack. you use this card on any of your monsters that you just normal summon, they get their effects negated, so they go back up from 1800 if it was normal summon without tribute to 2400, plus it gets this boost of 400 attack for a turn. At the end of the turn, when Chalice runs or the effect of Chalice wears out, this carrier or whatever monster you used it on stays at its 2400 attack, and it stays at a level 6. Its original level that's printed on the card. That's important because then now this card cannot be affected by monsters less than level 6 or rank 6 instead of 4. To finish up my spells, Laser Clip. Laser Clip allows you to do another normal summon each turn. It's a field spell. This is very important, especially in the mirror match, where you're not really even pendulum summoning as much. Sometimes in the mirror, having 2 scouts, one on each side, is like the right play. And then you search your laser clip, and then your other scout searches for a big beater. That way you can go normal summon a monster, and then second summon something bigger. Very, very good card. Definitely play 1. Skill Drain. Of course, this abuses these guys' original attacks. They go from 1800 normal summon monsters to now they're 2400 or 2800. You have to play 3. In the mirror match, though, you do side them out. Wiretaps are really good. I was trying Trap Stun, but I think Wiretaps allows you to push for a game. It also allows you to negate. It's like reacting to their spell, to their trap, and instead of just trap stunning, where it could just be a -1 for you if you don't kill them at turn, this one will actually work against cards like Solemn Warning, etc. It's really good. Compulse, Bottomless. I want to talk about those cards first. Compulse is obviously good, and Bottomless, though, came back to the deck because of this new Qliphort deck. When your opponent tries to pendulum summon a monster or monsters, you play Bottomless, you can banish every single one of them. Very, very good. And to top off the deck, before I talk about this card, Vanity's Emptiness. Actually, Vanity's Emptiness, it's just to negate special summoning. It's not that great anymore because cards like Shadal's, or decks like Shadal's, they have their El Shadal to get over this. Burning Abyss, play Trap Stuns, and it doesn't really do too much in the mirror match. This card, last but not least, is called Climate Change. You really should be playing at least one of these cards. In the late game, your extra deck zone, which I guess I haven't explained that yet. Anyways, your extra deck zone will be filled with face-up monsters, and this will allow you to add them back to your hand to replenish your hand. So quickly, when pendulum monsters are destroyed and are supposed to be sent to the graveyard from the field, they are instead sent to the extra deck face up. So they are able to be special summoned again next turn, provided that you have pendulum skills on either side. Another really good reason why Vanity's Emptiness is still decent in this deck is because since these don't hit the graveyard, your Vanity's Emptiness can stay on the field. Really, really good. As for side deck right now is in testing, but I'm really liking how this is played out so far. Towers, you side this in games 2, 3. Essentially, if your opponent is not prepared, you drop this, there is nothing that they can do. It's just not good in the mirror match because a your opponent can actually just go summon Disc, which is 2800. It'll drop to 1800 and then attack and play Chalice on itself. And that will put Disc up to 3200, which swings over Killer. But Killer is good in every other matchup. Killer says here requires 3 Qli tributes to normal summon or set them. When it is normal summon or set, it's unaffected by all spells and traps, and by activated effects from any monsters whose original level or rank is lower than this, which looks like 10. So pretty much everything can't hurt it. But there is an exception, and that is Star Eater, or plays with Army Arm, things like that. But another part of its effect is that all special summon monsters lose 500 attack and defense, so it's very hard to kill. Star Eater being the exception because when Star Eater attacks, its own effect works, and he's unaffected by this attack and defense modifier. So Star Eater can swing over this. Once per turn though, and I just found out about this effect yesterday in a duel, and this just blew my mind. I was like, wow, this card was already broken and now it has this one effect as well. You can make your opponent send one monster from their hand or their side of their field to the graveyard, and it's their choice. It's a weird ruling, but I just looked this one up, and if your opponent sends a Shadal monster, then that monster does not get its effect. The reasoning for that apparently is because the effect resolves and it allows the player to choose what to send, and because it's not the card effect sending the Shadal monster and it's the player sending, then they don't get the effect. So it's weird ruling, but that's how it's ruled. So really good card. Along with Majesty's Fiend and Vanity's Fiend and your Monarch Stormfort, these cards can shut down Shadal's really fast. In the mirror match, I like to play Forbidden Lance, and I also play this against Burning Abyss to chain into their Wing Blasts and Karma Cuts and Raigeki Breaks. But in the mirror match, I actually like Lance because you're going to win that duel through, I guess you'd say, just battle step, damage step tricks. MSTs is MSTs. Raigeki Break to clear the board. Spell Shining Arrow. In Qliphorts, they play this versus Fairy Wind because you don't want to pop your own spell trap, but you still want to hit your opponent's Floodgate cards or your opponent's Pendulum Scales. So it's really good, does some burn damage. Super Poly, I've been testing it. It's not that bad. If you have a Pendulum Scale, then you can't special summon any monsters besides Qli monsters. But if you have no scales up, then you can actually fuse for, let's say, 2 of your opponent's monsters or 1 of your monsters and their Shadal, and actually make these fusions. So I think it's pretty good to steal some games. Changes appearance is obviously for Burning Abyss. And the last for my side deck is Intercept. Intercept, got this from Squiddy, Chansey, and also Walchi I was talking about with them. Intercept apparently is just really good in the mirror. I get to resolve it, but in theory it looks really good. If they tribute summon for a Qliphort Disc, for example, which has 2800 attack, then you take control of that monster, and the monsters that Disc special summon are essentially useless. So really good card. Like I said, it's still in testing, but I've been playing this with a really good win to loss ratio just for one day on DN, and already up over 100 points just from people rage quitting. It's a really good deck. I encourage you guys to try it out. Let me know what you guys think, and good luck in the rest of your duels.